أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والنصارى والصابئين من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وعمل صالحا فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Indeed those, maybe the parents quieting down their kids, please. Jazakallah khair. Indeed those who believed and those who were Jews and Christians or Sabians, meaning before the Prophet's time, who believed in Allah and the last day and did righteousness will have their reward with their Lord, and no fear will there be concerning them, nor will they grieve. The three sicknesses of the Yahud are mentioned here. One is their turning away or not acting on the haqq. Once it establishes haqq, something is true, they refuse to obey it or to follow it. They're turning away from haqq, number one. After the haqq has been established, from a prophet, a teaching book, and a prophet's right in front of them, and they said, we're not going to do it. One is someone is ignorant, misunderstanding. One is a prophet of Allah like Moses alayhi salam is telling you to your face and say, we're not doing it. Sami'na wa asayna. We hear, we disobey. And you will not see this out of the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number one. Number two, they're healers, like the tricks they try to play on the Sharia. They find loopholes. We got people like that as well, that they will give their own interpretation to basically make, and you see this in the modern day Qur'aniyun. The Arabs call them Qur'aniyun, we call them Munkar hadith, the rejectors of hadith, right? Qur'aniyun is too much of a nice nisbah to give to them, the people of Qur'an, right? The Qur'an only group, right? Their Sharia never becomes more harder, it always becomes easier. Somehow, their Sharia never becomes more, the Sharia that they come up with, their own laws they come up with in their own way, everything is much easier. Because if it was harder, nobody would do it. So it's nicely fits with the nafs, right? So you see this type of attitude exists even in this ummah as well. There are certain groups and people, individuals who try to push. For them, there is no halal and haram. It's just halal and halal. There's nothing forbidden. They'll make interpretation for something to make it halal for themselves. The third is, first is they're turning away from outright rejection of the truth and order, refusing to act upon it. Number two is they're playing games using loopholes in their own mind, which is to do with the story of when they were the punishment that was given to that group of Bani Israel who were put the net out the day before. They were not allowed to work on Saturday. That was their Sharia. It kind of applies to us as well. Not Saturday, but during the Jummah, فَاسْعُوا إِلَىٰ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ. Leave all trade. In the time of Jummah, we're supposed to leave all trade and make our way to the Jummah. And the third is ta'ammuq, which is that they go deep into things unnecessarily. Hair splitting, unnecessary level of detail to make things much more complicated than they are. And we'll see that in this, the whole point of this Surah Baqarah being called Baqarah is named after the story, which hopefully we'll mention today. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, indeed those who believed and those who were Jews, Yahud, Christians, Sabi'ins, before the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who are the Sabi'in? There's a whole discussion. There's so much ikhtilaf on it. Here it gives a description what type of people they were. Indeed, those who were Yahud and Christians or Sabi'in, those among them who believed in Allah, so there's one criteria, and the last day, they believed in Akhirah, and did righteousness, did good actions, will have their reward with their Lord. So I mean these are Muslims. Among the followers of Isa alayhi salam, the followers of Musa alayhi salam, among the Sabi'in. Now, who are the Sabi'in? Some say Nuh alayhi salam followers, some say Yahya alayhi salam followers, some say they follow Zabur, some say there's a whole plethora of views on this. Some say they follow Sharia Muhammad, some say they don't have any Sharia, they don't follow anybody, but they do what is good. Some say the people on fitrah. Here a description is given about who they are. Iman, A'mal, and they believe in the Akhirah. So somehow they know this truth, and whichever prophet that he came from. Right? So there are sects today, even they claim to be, or a sect today that claims to be from this. But the thing is, this is in the brackets put, pre-Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's come, that is a prophet, whether they accept or rejected, then they have to reconcile with that. So, so those true followers of Isa alayhi salam, they are in this category. Those true followers of Musa alayhi salam are in this category before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I don't think there's any Jew or Christian today has not heard of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wallahu alam, that if this even applies to anybody in the world today. So, and who are they? They are the people of good works, iman and good works, right? So these four groups, the mu'mineen, the Yahud, Nasara, Sabina mentioned, and for them to be in this list is only by iman and amal. There's no other ethnicity mentioned, or nationality mentioned, or skin color mentioned, or any other criteria. That is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that means iman and amal. Inna Allah la yanzur, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Inna Allah la yanzuru ila suwarikum wa amwalikum, walakin yanzuru ila qulubikum wa amalikum. Indeed, Allah does not look at your face, your forms, your faces. It doesn't look at your wealth. Mal doesn't mean money, the bank balance. Mal means all your worldly properties, cars, clothes, everything that is of value. Mal, that's what mal means. Mal is something that is of value that is in your possession, right? So anything of worldly value, significance, material, well, none of these. Allah doesn't look at these. He looks at your hearts, meaning intentions, iman, ikhlas, love of Allah, fear of Allah, the condition of the heart. Namely, iman first. In the top of the list, ikhlas, sincerity, these are the top of the list. That why are you doing these things? And then, of course, other characteristics of iman that are in the heart. Fear of Allah, love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Dhikr of Allah, the condition of the heart. And second thing that he looks at is your amal, your deeds. Right? That's it. He doesn't look at your wealth, all the external material possessions, and all the other things that we put value on. Maybe we think it's valuable. It's immaterial, it's not important before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? That's what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, La akhsha faqra alaykum, I don't fear poverty for you. So we worry about poverty. We judge people how much, when you put anybody's name in Google, what comes next to it? Net worth. Why? Because everybody's checking how much this guy's got, or that guy's got, or she's got, or he's got, isn't it? Right? Even put the ulama's name in there, that's what will come next to it as well. Everyone's checking, make sure, how can this Maulana be wealthy? How did this alim become rich? When I was imam in a masjid, I had a imam's car park spot, and so one brother came with a very, very fancy Mercedes. And I said, brother, I'm going somewhere. So my car park was full. So you can use my spot because I'm not going to be using it. But I said, do at your own risk, because people think that that's my car. They're going to give you the ain, the evil eye. He said, I'll park somewhere else. He didn't park there. He goes, too risky, too risky. So mal is anything that, and anything that we possess, any possession that we have. And therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't look at. We have our own yardstick of measurement of success and to measure people, but Rasulullah said, La akhsha faqra, I don't fear poverty for you. He didn't fear poverty for us, right? I fear that the dunya will be open on you like it was open on the nations before you, and then you compete with each other like they competed and be destroyed like they were destroyed. So this is his concern for us, that dunya is open on us, and it has opened on us. Like if we're thinking in 2025, I'm living in Australia. And the guy that in Australia, a guy has a car, air-conditioned house and a heater, he thinks he's poor. When he lives a better standard of living than 99% of the world. We feel like I'm just getting by, But the reality is, he's living better than 99% of the world. His standard of living is not better than 99%. But in his mind, right, I don't have much. I'm such a zahid. I'm a faqir, this simple slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he lives it better than 99% of the world. Right? So, you should be aware of the ni'mah. I mentioned, we just read in Maghrib, the ni'mah of Allah, fahaddis, mention it. We should acknowledge the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we can make shukr. And also we should acknowledge the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at the ones that don't have this ni'mah. Didn't Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam advise us to look at the people below us, don't look at the people above? My teacher used to give advice, Maulana Muslim Sahib, my teacher, he said, go look at the house of poor people. So you can be grateful for what you have. Go to quote unquote so-called third world country and go and see the huts. See how people live. So you can be grateful for all the things that you have. Right? That you don't have to be, Allah's kept you away from ju'. What does Allah remind the Quraysh? Their business summer and the trade is done easily. You trade caravans travel safely throughout the world, isn't it? They travel to Sham and they travel to Yemen safely, no issues. Allah reminds the bounties. Maybe they didn't realize, maybe they forgot. So Allah reminds them. And then worship the Lord of His house, the one who kept you away from fear. Isn't it? There's countries in wars. People don't know their kids will come back alive. Their son, the people go to work, they don't know they'll come back safe. We don't have to worry about that in general, is it? In Australia, wherever, I had to worry about that. In countries, there's a thing called load shedding. You know, Pakistanis knows this very well. What's load shedding? That the electricity in summer is half the day is not there. Half the day is no electricity. When was the last time we had to worry about a blackout in Melbourne? Is it? Like, you wouldn't even, I think we've been here, like family's been since 1988. So we've been here. So it's nearly almost getting to, you know, what? 30, 40 years, 35 years. And I think we had like 2 times electricity cut out. 2 or 3. Like in once a decade. Over there, it's like daily thing. They've got like a backup generators. They've got a whole system. There's a whole thing you have to, like you live your life. Or like a whole houses get together. They got to have a generator. When the electricity go out, they had a system to replace it. So we never have to think about this. It's just there all the time. Just switch on. The electricity is there all the time. You know, so these ni'am, we're supposed to remember the ni'am of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He's given the ni'am. So they, the Bani Israel, back to Bani Israel. Back to Bani Israel, because remember Surah Baqarah is what? Da'wa ila al-Yahud. It's invitation to the Yahud. Right? So they also are invited. Right? They're also invited. They're not written off, like, because if they're breathing and alive in this world, their da'wah is to them as well, to come to Islam, to come to Deen, to save their akhirah. And so what is the common feature between all these groups, Sabi'in, Yahud, Nasara, the Mu'mineen, the Muslims of this ummah, is the belief in Allah. And belief in Allah, it doesn't mention belief in messengers. That is a given. How do you know to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Obviously something fitratan is built in, but belief in Allah comes through the teachings of Anbiya alayhi salam. So it's automatic. Belief in messengers, Allah's message is automatic. It's built into it, right? And we don't make any distinction between the Prophet. In our belief, we don't make distinctions. We believe, yes, of course, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the Imam of all the prophets. And there's certain prophets of the Ulul Azm, like Musa alayhi salam and Isa alayhi salam and Nuh alayhi salam and Ibrahim alayhi salam. They're the 5 great ones. And then, but we don't make any distinction in belief. Like la nufarriqu bayna ahadin. We don't make a distinction belief regarding any. They have their statuses, but at the same time our belief is equal regarding them. That they're all sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we as Muslims are required to believe them because they mentioned in the Qur'an. And so why was it the Yahud, وَإِذَا خَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورَ خُذُوا مَا آتَيْنَاكُمْ بِقُوَّةٍ وَاذْكُرُوا مَا فِيهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. And recall when we took out your covenant, O children of Israel, to abide by the Torah, and we raised over you the mount, saying, take what we have given you with determination, with strength, and remember what is in it, that perhaps you may become righteous. That take this thing, this book, because they refused to obey. They said, Sami'na wa asayna. We hear, book is sent to them. They wanted the law, they wanted the book, because they asked for it. Now that it's come, you're required to comply. You asked for this. So you broke a promise and agreement. That's why it's so offensive to Allah that a mountain to be raised over them makes sajda. Else this mountain is coming, is going to crush down on top of you. Because you don't make an agreement with the most powerful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then He fulfills His side of it. Now you're breaking the agreement. وَإِذَا أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ وَرَفَعْنَا. That's what the mithaq is referring to. We also have an agreement by being the ummah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by being the slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's an agreement that we had before we came into this world. But there is an agreement in play. There was an agreement. They asked for a book. They asked for a law, a sharia. And when they were given it, They said, no, we're going to disobey. We're not following. This is too hard. Musa alayhi salam, when he came with the law, with Torah, this is too hard. We're not going to do it. So why is the mountain over the head? Why is it so severe? Sometimes we don't understand because we don't read the whole, like we don't study the Mufassiri and have to explain, and we don't read the Qur'an, so we don't understand the depth, what's actually going on. Sometimes we're very superficial. So we read like just on thing, like why is the mountain? Because they had a prior contract that they're breaking. And contractual obligations, like, you don't have to explain, like the contract has T's and C's, and they're breaking the agreement not with anybody, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence the offense is very great. And that they're not destroyed with that. So like follow the laws that I've revealed to you, which is your success in that, and hopefully become muttaqi. You'll attain the success of this world and hereafter. What does it mean muttaqi? You're God-fearing people. You become better people. Like they've been forced to be like children, like you're forcing like to do something that they don't want to do, but it's good for them. They haven't been destroyed, but the stick has been lifted, for them. The stick is lifted to do the right thing and to fulfill the agreement that they prior made. So then, ثُمَّ تَوَلَّيْتُم مِّن بَعْدِ ذَلِكَ فَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ لَكُنتُم مِّنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Then you turned away after that, and if not for the favor of Allah upon you and His mercy, right, you would have been among the losers. And their claims, they turned away. This is the first sickness of the Yahud in this section we mentioned. They turned away, right? They turn away, they reject the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not out of His hatred, out of His mercy, His favor, right? His fadl is mentioned here, and His rahmah. If it wasn't for that, you would have lost. Allah could have made you and kept you in that condition. He died in that condition, but He raised that stick. He raised that mountain over you and forced you into submission. So because they used to say things, they make big claims. لَن يَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ إِلَّا مَنْ كَانَ هُودًا وَنَصَارَى. Another part of the Qur'an, they said, nobody will enter Jannah except for Yahud and Nasara. The Yahud say the only Yahud will enter Jannah. Nasara, we say those who believe in, as the Qur'an says, those who believe in Allah, believe in Akhirah, do good deeds from the Yahud. Before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. From the Yahud, from the Nasara, from the Sabi'in, from anybody before that was like this. Our belief is that they will. We don't say that only the Jews will enter. We say the Nasara, those who true followers of Isa alayhi salam before Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they enter in Jannah. Not just the Muslims of the Ummah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Isn't it? We have to accept that in the previous nation there were pious people. So many hadiths is told to us, and the Quran is mentioned of great people and pious people. In Bani Israel, pious people of Bani Israel. Then those who followed, so the followers of Musa alayhi salam and their descendants, those who are good, they'll enter Jannah. Not just Yahud, and not just them as well. We said Nasara as well, those true followers of Isa alayhi salam, they will enter Jannah. And true followers of Isa alayhi salam will become Muslim, as we told in the hadith. So therefore, وَلَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمُ الَّذِينَ اعْتَدَوْا مِنْكُمْ فِي السَّبْتِ فَقُلْنَا لَهُمْ كُونُوا قِرَدَةً خَاسِئِينَ. And you had already known that about those who transgressed among you concerning the Sabbath, and we said to them, be apes despised. This was a punishment given to a group of Bani Israel who they were told not to work. We have people today that act like that among us, right? In Jum'ah, right? We also have a hukum. Leave trade. If you hear the adhan, إِذَا نُودِيَ لِلصَّلَاةِ, Surah Jum'ah, read that. Leave trade and go to hasten to the dhikr of Allah, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the primary function of the Jum'ah. It's not a political speech, right? You can attend to community issues, but that's not what it ultimately is about, the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which could cover community things as well, but you have to be very mindful how we treat the Jum'ah. I get requests for Jum'ah. I always get requests. People think it's like a jukebox. Like you put a request in, like calling the radio channel. I want, please play this track. Gold classics. Like play this track for me. Like they think that Jum'ah is like just talk about whatever and this is it's holidays, talk to the kids. What about you? Like, you don't need a more admonition, right? Like, it's like an unserious way of dealing, to be a good child, listen to the parents, Like, I'm supposed to do your job now. Like, you do your own parenting, I'll do my own parenting. But anyway, but people make strange, they don't realize, they think it's just a speech. How am I supposed to, like, that child, that's your child, is even listening to me at that moment. So now I'm talking to, 99% adults, and I'm going to speak to 20, 30 kids. So what about the people that are actually mukallaf in Sharia? The adults who are actually obligated. What about them? We're just going to ignore them. So we get these sort of requests in Jummah. Some people intentionally come in Jummah late. They've timed it perfectly. So they only come for the 2 rakats. Like, I used to change the time before, like in Doncaster, sometimes I just do it early. And those guys, they have no shame, They came to me, they came to me after Jummah and reprimanded me, not because of work. And if you see the late comers, you make a list every Jummah, right? Every Jummah you make a list. And, like timings of, it's the same guys that are coming late. It's always the same. And if you make Jummah later, they're still late. And if you make it earlier, they're late again. They've timed it for the 2 rakat. So they were upset with me because I was doing I'll do the first Jummah. So the second Jummah, like, they can get another Jummah half an hour later. But they got upset. They came to me privately. Not privately, in front of people actually. They didn't come privately. They came to me and said, why did you make the Jummah so early today? Right? And they do this every week. They come late. They don't want to listen to the khutbah. Even just the Arabic khutbah they won't listen to. And what you're told, فَاسْعَوْا إِلَىٰ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, hasten to the dhikr of Allah. So that's referring to the khutbah. Hasten to the remembrance of Allah. My father, rahimahullah, is imam for 50 years. And he, in several countries. And he had, like, sometimes in khutbah, in the English talk, I talk a lot about, Imam so-and-so said this, and Imam so-and-so said this. He said, you talk about too many people in khutbah. Because khutbah is for the dhikr of Allah. It's to turn attention to Allah and akhirah. You talk too much about people. Although I'm not quoting bad people, and I'm saying Imam so-and-so rahimahullah said this, and Imam, because you talk too much, your attention is too much to people in Jummah. Like, you're supposed to talk Allah, about His deen, His messenger, and about His ahkam. That's what you're supposed to, and more as that, admonish people. That's the purpose of khutbah. It has a purpose. It's got a sanctity, a hurmah. So people that do that, like, what difference is that? They're technically, right? So here he mentioned, as Lahori rahmatullah in his tafsir, he mentioned, Surat hukam ki ta'amil ruhi hukm mafqud. This is a summary of this, what Bani Israel, the way they treated their Sharia. That the form of the ruling is acted upon, the soul of it is missing. The soul of their thing. So what were they doing? They were told to not fish, to work on Saturday. That was a Sharia. There's TikTok videos made about some guys online talking about from Bani Israel. He makes videos about the workarounds they figured out. IT people appreciate that, the workarounds, right? What's the translation of hila? Anybody got a good translation of hila? Hila. Huh? The word hila. English translation. Workarounds. Right? Huh? Loopholes. Right? In Sharia. People, like there was one group in America, this is a hila. This is a hila that's wrong, it's haram. Imam Ahmad Hanbal rahimahullah was extremely strict on, it's haram to do hilas in deen. Like, Ramadan is coming into summer, right? And so what do, I go on a holiday. I do a world tour. So what am I now? Musafir. Technically, I'm a musafir, isn't it? If I'm traveling. Why? I'm trying to dodge. Thinking I'll do qada in winter. I'll do qada in winter. Zahila. Technically, it's correct, isn't it? He's a musafir, regardless. So he can avoid the fast. But to do that, is it really right to do that? Is this the way? Is this what the concession was given? This rukhsa was given? Is this why it was given? Was it given for this reason, that you use it like this? People do this. In Middle East they were doing this. People doing this. They saw this. Well, if you're musafir, you don't have to fast. There's people like that. They don't fear Allah. Say, all right, we're going to. And what did Ali radiallahu anh said? He loved to fast what? On a very hot day. Really feel it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's coming. I'm getting ready for summer Ramadan, inshallah. It's coming. It's on the way. Don't worry. It's about a couple of years away, but we're getting, this year is the first one. We're gonna feel it a little bit, inshallah ta'ala. It's coming. For those that have been in Australia, we had like a 20-year, 15-year roughly. We had a break. It's coming back. But we should be looking forward to it. I can do more for Allah. I can sweat for Allah. I can work harder for Allah. Be hungry for Allah. Be thirsty for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's how mu'min sees it. So another hila was like in America. I was mentioning that there's one group where they said that the hijab, the ladies section, just put a glass, clear glass, right? So we can see into the sister section. Since the hijab is like a physical barrier, they don't have to wear hijab. Right? It's a barrier, isn't it? It's a covering. So these are the things, people come up with all sorts of things. These are like the most extreme, maybe that's an extreme version. That's not even a hila, that's clear cut haram. But the traveling one might be one. There are others as well. In transactions, people in transaction, there's so many. In financial transaction, there's so many hilas, which Imam Ahmad was like extremely strict on using hilas or workarounds in the matters of Sharia. But Israel, they were told not to fish. This tribe of Bani Israel were told. In this, 3 groups came. They were told not to fish. The fish only turned up on that. They only turned up on that day. So what they would do is they set the traps before. Sunday come, nets are full. They thought they were clever, and then they used to laugh it off. They used to make fun. Look, we figured out a way around. So it wasn't just that they did this, but they also had a good old laugh about the disobedience. And so what happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turned them as a punishment into monkeys and into swine. There's another ayat explain this. This is a punishment, and they were kept alive like that for 3 days. Right? So this was a specific one group, and then they had a punishment, and they were kept as a sign for everybody else, and as a reminder so that it will be passed down so people know about it. For us, it's transmitted in the Qur'an to us. That if you play games like this, in ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treats you a certain way. And they were made in ibrah, so we don't behave like this with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this regard, there are 3 groups. One group is the one that would turn the punishment into monkeys and pigs. Right? And they were destroyed, they were killed off. This is not like the monkeys and pigs that are around today, they are their descendants. People might misunderstand. They were kept like that, and then they were destroyed. Right? And then the second group was the one, the ulama from the Bani Israel, who gave them da'wah, did nahi munkar, forbade the evil, and reminded them. They did their job. They were the one that was saved. There was a third group who basically just went along with everybody. They don't want to rock the boat. They haram, they didn't call haram. They just went along with them, appeased them. They were also destroyed with them. So these 2 groups are destroyed. The ones that did the act, the one that approved it, supported it, or turned a blind eye to it. And they left the ulama, who were stood up for the haqq, and they stood their ground, and that was a group that was saved. And they were kept as a symbol for others. And then فَجَعَلْنَاهَا نَكَالًا لِمَا بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ وَمَا خَلْفَهُ مَوْعِظَةً لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. And we made it a deterrent punishment for those who are present and those who succeeded them, and a lesson for those who fear Allah. وإذ قال موسى لقومه إن الله يأمركم أن تذبحوا بقرة قالوا أتتخذنا هزوا قال أعوذ بالله أن أكون من الجاهلين. The third problem, the third sickness. And recall when Musa said to his people, indeed Allah commanded to slaughter a cow. Baqarah. This is why this chapter is called Surah Baqarah. They said, do you take us in ridicule? He said, I seek refuge in Allah from being among the ignorant. Right? In this section, they were given a hukum. The hukum was given, what's the story behind the Baqarah? Someone killed, there's different reasons given in the tafsirs you can find, but basically someone wanted inheritance. He killed his uncle, and then nobody knew who the killer, and then he's the one that raised the noise. Someone had killed my uncle, but he's actually the murderer himself. Nobody knew. So then they were told to get a piece of a slaughtered cow and hit. In the tafsir explains, was the slaughter of the cow for this, or was it a normal hukm? Like we have qurban, udhi and Eid, isn't it? So qurbani, udhiya in Eid. Was it the hukm for that? Like they had also a hukm of slaughter. It's that the hukm was already there. Do you understand? So they were not fulfilling already a hukm they had to comply to. Now they were forced, okay, you want this solution, you have to fulfill the hukm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is already prescribed for them. Then from that hukm, fulfill it, then you take the qurbani, the meat, a leg of whatever, a piece of the meat, and you hit the dead body, and the dead body sat up and spoke and told the name, I was killed by so and so. But they were actually the thing. But they went into, right? First they made mockery of it, and this is when the tabligh is done, da'wat is done to foolish nations, foolish people. They make a mockery of the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Stupid people can only make fun of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet and His rulings. And it's considered kufr, someone who makes fun of the deen. Right? It's written in the books, examples are given in the books of fiqh and aqidah, that when a person sees someone riding a donkey and makes fun of, knowing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was riding a donkey. Do you understand? Like, this is a mockery of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's serious. Someone's a mockery of shepherd, knowing that every prophet was a shepherd, because this has been taught to us. So we can't make mockery of the sha'air of Allah, the symbols of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're not just simple things. So the people, foolish people, only stupid people across that line, they think they can mock the Anbiya alayhim salam, or the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they fulfill the order. Ikhtilaf, difference of opinion can happen, but they always fulfill the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they were told to pray Asr, don't pray Asr until at Banu Qurayza. One group said, we're on the way, they said, the time for Asr is entered, we're going to pray. They prayed, another group said, Rasulullah meant to hurry up. They said, we're going to pray. They prayed very late over there. Neither was reprimanded, right? Because both of them fulfill the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their understanding. A difference of understanding can be there, right? But what Bani Israel they started doing, قَالَ ادْعُ لَنَا رَبَّكَ يُبَيِّنْ لَنَا مَا هِي قال إنه يقول إنا بقر لا فارض ولا بكر عوان بين ذلك فافعلوا ما تؤمرون. They said, call upon your Lord to make clear to us what is it, what it is. So Musa alayhi salam, Allah says, it is a cow which is neither old nor virgin, literally, but medium between that. So do what you are commanded. قالوا ادع لنا ربك يبين لنا ما لونها قال إنه يقول إنا بقرة صفراء فاقع لونها تسر الناظرين. They said, call upon your Lord to show us what is her color. He said, it is a yellow cow, bright in color, pleasing to the observers. قالوا ادع لنا ربك يبين لنا ما هي إن البقرة تشابه علينا وإنا إن شاء الله لمهتدون. They said, call upon your Lord to make us clear what it is. Indeed, all cows look alike to us. And indeed, if inshallah, will be guided. They got lucky with this, inshallah. That's what Allah said. قال إنه يقول إنا بقر لا ذلول تثير الأرض ولا تسقي الحرث مسلمة لا شية فيها قالوا الآن جئت بالحق فذبحوها وما كادوا يفعلون. He said, it is a cow neither trained to plow the earth nor to irrigate the field, one free from fault with no spot upon her. They said, now you have come with the truth. These are arbitrators, no, to Musa alayhi salam. Now you've come with the truth. Now you got it right? So they slaughtered her, but they could hardly do it. You know, one of the, just a side thing, I remember in the fatwa books is one of the Adab al-Fatwa Mustafti. I think it's Imam Nawawi's book, if I remember correctly, the etiquettes of a mufti and etiquettes of the one asking the fatwa. When the mufti gives you fatwa, it's mentioned in the books, that and I can't remember the book now, Ibn Hamdan, the Hanbali one, I can't remember which one it was, but one of the etiquettes of asking fatwa, you don't say to the mufti, that's right, you got it right. Al-an jita bil-haq. Now you've come with the truth. What do you mean? Like, why? Firstly, either you're a mufti, you know the answer, or you know the answer from somebody else and you're testing him, which is not the right thing to do, because like you're not one to test muftis if they're right or wrong. But like it's considered from I mentioned in their list of etiquettes for asking fatwa. Don't wave your hand in the face of the mufti. I don't know why. Like who waves? Like is like talking too much, like telling the mufti off or something. Don't after he gives you the answer, don't say that's right. You got it right. Why? Because it appeases your nafs. So you know this is in details of asking. There's actually etiquettes to ask a question. Look at their questioning. Like they made things difficult. A teacher tells a student, or someone tells his son, give me a glass of water. Shall I give you in a glass or a cup? Glass. What color should the glass be? green or red? Green. Now he's searching for a green cup, which was broke a few days ago, has gone in the bin. Now he's searching the world, turning the world upside down. He could have brought it in a pot and the father wouldn't have cared. But the constant questioning made things more difficult. In the tafsir, if they didn't say inshallah, they'll be searching for this cow, and the list of restriction would have got longer and longer and longer and longer. Right? Longer and longer and longer. They would never have found it if they didn't say inshallah, they would never have found this cow. And they did slaughter it, and we'll read inshallah the next week inshallah. But this is Bani Israel and some of the things that they get up to. The 3 sicknesses mentioned here. I'm just making sure. There's just a few points here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam where he said, Inna deena yusr. Deen is ease. Deen is easy already. It doesn't need you to make it easy, right? Just some people try to make it more easy than what it is already. So deen is easy already. Islam is easy already. Don't try to. The one who tries to go so severe in deen becomes harsh in deen, becomes severe in deen. What happens? Right? Nothing will happen except that deen will become ghalib over him, dominating. There's too much to do. If he becomes like too rigid and goes too like shadeed, like he's become so full on into the deen. I'm not saying we should be full on regarding deen, but do you understand what I'm saying? Like he burns out. He can't sustain it. If he overdoes it, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what he said, deen, nobody goes that hard into the deen except that overwhelms him. غَلَبَهُ فَسَدِّدُ. Try, make an effort. قَارِب, try to come close, right? وَابْشُرُ, give glad tidings, take the glad tidings, right? Do as much as you can, right? And seek Allah's help with a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the evening, and a little bit at night. It's my translations, rough translation, meaning more or less, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do a little bit, things to help you. Take the glad tidings, even if it's a little bit of an action. And do a little bit in the morning. Don't have to pray tahajjud the whole night. Do half an hour before Fajr. Right? That's still considered Salat tahajjud. Right? You do a whole night, and then one day you do it, never do it again. Isn't it? So build up the ability to do it. You know, people take years and years, decades, to build capacity to do more tahajjud. All right? Half an hour, right? I mean, that's what the Shaykh has mentioned. Do 2 rakat. What's a hadith? I went through the Tazkiyah group. How long, what's the riwayah mentioned? How long should it be? The time to? 2 rakat should be? The time to milk a goat. All right? Go and ask ChatGPT how long it takes to milk a goat. You can do it in your own time. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, right? 5 minutes. The really good goat milkers, you know, it's 5 minutes. So 5 minutes and 5 minutes. Start with something small that you can sustain and build up from there, inshallah ta'ala. That's hadith. Hadith also mentioned that a person wakes up and just makes dhikr. Doesn't even make, says, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu al-mulku wa alhamdulillah shay'in qadir. Alhamdulillah, subhanallah, la ilaha illallah akbar, la hawla wa quwwata illa billah. He didn't make wudu, didn't make salat. Rasulullah said, if he makes wudu, pray salat, Allah accepts. If he says, I'll make dua, Allah accepts dua. Without even the wudu, just makes dua. Makes a zikr and make dua, this person. So Rasulullah said, a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon. These are the best times. Why is this mentioned? Because this is a side note regarding how simple and easy deen is. And we don't go into so much, their over-analysis. Sometimes we do this as well, to the point that we miss the mark. So why is this mentioned in the commentary mentioned, in the journey to Allah, take a little bit of assistance from Allah before, in the tahajjud time, in the morning time, and the afternoon time. The best time to do amal is what? Before Fajr, after Fajr, and then after Asr, isn't it? For adhkar and so forth. So take help of Allah. Why? In the journey to Allah, like the example here is referring to a traveling example. If you're traveling a long distance from one country either by camel, because these are cool times to travel in. Cool as in the weather temperature. Time to travel in. So you travel a little bit in the morning after Fajr, it's easy to travel in that time. After Asr, it's a cool time to travel. And in the night time, it's supposed to travel because it's easier, the land is compressed, like it's brought together. It's easier to travel at night time. Right? So these are in the heat, in the day and so forth, it's tedious and hard. So in the journey to Allah also, there's a correlation given to that. In the sayr ilallah, in getting the qurb of Allah, traveling towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, spiritually, getting closeness of Allah, a little bit in the morning, if you're doing that every day, 3 times a day, after Fajr, after Asr, in the night, and a little bit, 10 minutes, half an hour, you keep doing it. Eventually you get there, like the tortoise, right? Not like once a year, 27th Ramadan, go hard, and the rest of the year just forget. This is what many people do. They do the cop out. There's 2-3 days. Some of them are made up. Those days they're not a thing even, and they rely on those 2-3 days, and the rest of the year just a thing. No, Rasulullah told us how to get close to Allah in an easy way. Take the glad tidings in for small actions. Don't try to and this is especially I advise this when brothers who've been in Jahiliyyah, away from Deen, and they come. I say Jahiliyyah, and then they're far away from Islam. They're not praying, doing anything, doing wrong things. Then they come to Deen. And brothers who become Muslims, converts to Islam, there's a guilt of time that's wasted. Might be true. So they feel like they need to overcompensate. I always tell every revert that becomes Muslim. I tell this hadith to them, right? I said, be careful with these born Muslims. They're going to tell you all the parts of Islam they don't practice themselves that you have to do. They don't do it themselves. They're going to try to make you like a better Muslim than themselves. Doesn't even make sense. I said, go slow and steady. A little bit in the morning. Do a 5 times salat. A little bit extra in the morning. A little bit in the afternoon. A little bit in the evening, in the night. And that's a lot. That's not a small amount. That's a lot. And accumulate over time, that is a lot. Else you'll have burnout with all the other responsibilities that we have. And in this time, with work and family and so forth, you need to balance work, ibadah, family, everything. Everything has to be in a balance. If you go too much in one, last thing, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, obviously we don't go the other extreme, just go hardcore in dunya and family and so forth to the point that we forget akhirah. What is a hadith of the Abdullah bin Amr ibn As radiallahu anhu, a young Sahabi, Amr bin As, his son. Rasulullah, he got married, his father visits his daughter-in-law. He said, how do you find my son? He said, the best of men. يَقُومُ اللَّيْلِ وَيَصُومُ النَّهَارِ, prays the whole night and fast the whole day. Right? So he got the hint from his daughter-in-law. He didn't go to his son, how do you find your wife? He went to this is the adab of Sahaba. He went to the daughter-in-law, asked her, how do you find my son? Then he understood. He went to Rasulullah to complain against Abdullah bin Amr, one of the main narrators of hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he said, came to him and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, I married basically, paraphrasing, I married Abdullah and this is what it does to my daughter-in-law. He's neglected 3 days, he hasn't gone to his wife. He's praying the whole time, fasting. Every night he's praying, every night his day is fasting. So then Rasulullah calls him and he says, brought him close, and he said, Abdullah, your nafs has a right upon you. Your wife, family has a right upon you. Right? And your guest has a right upon you. Right? They have a haqq upon you, a right upon you. I've got a balance, right? You got to go to your wife. So it's a balance. This hadith was not told to the guy who never comes to the mosque and he's just hard, just like working 16 hours a day, doesn't pray, and said, my wife has a right upon me, my nafs has a right upon me. He uses this is the guy, this is told to the guy, how we flip things, This is told to the guy who's cut himself from dunya totally in the worship of Allah. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is bringing, because another part of Islam is being neglected. The rights of family and so forth. For a balanced person, you need a family, and for that you also need you need to work and provide. So that's a balanced human being. Rasulullah bring him from that level of ibadah, bring him to a balanced state. It's not told to the guy who's gone, like when he reminded the brother, come to the masjid or come for Jummah. He said, no brother, my nafs has a right upon me, my wife has a right upon me. Use this hadith as a dalil to never come to the masjid or for salat. Yeah, I think we get the gist of it, inshallah. Allah give us understanding and tawfiq.